The gates rattled violently as Karen, the HOA tyrant, stormed in with 100 of her guests, laughing and pointing like they owned the place. Marcus Darnell watched from the balcony of his lakefront mansion, eyes narrowing. The elegant lawn, the shimmering waters, the quiet serenity of his home, invaded in a single chaotic morning. "Your HOA rules don't apply here," Karen shouted over the clamor, waving a champagne glass like a scepter. Guests spilled onto the lawn, tripping over designer furniture, stepping on manicured flower beds, and snapping photos of their trespass like it was a victory parade. Marcus didn't yell. He didn't rush down. He already knew how this would end. Calm, collected, and armed with evidence, he had prepared every step for a moment like this. Karen had turned arrogance into audacity, and she was about to pay for it. Marcus Darnell's lakefront mansion, usually a haven of calm and elegance, had erupted into chaos. Karen and her entourage of 100 guests wandered across the marble floors and manicured lawns as if they owned the place. Laughter, shouting, and the clinking of glasses echoed across the lake, mingling with the gentle lap of water against the shore. A surreal clash of serenity and intrusion. "Move those chairs," Karen barked at a staff member trying to protect the patio furniture. "You're ruining the fun." Marcus remained on the balcony, arms crossed, his expression calm but his mind racing. Every step Karen's group took, every footfall on his property, was being recorded by discreet security cameras he had strategically installed weeks before. He didn't panic, he planned. "Do you see that?" whispered one of her guests, pointing at the cameras. "He's watching us?" Karen waved them off. "Ignore it. He can't stop us." Roulette? "This is a private victory." Marcus pressed a button on his tablet, zooming in on live footage from multiple angles. He noted every offense. Trampling flower beds, stepping on artwork, even spilling wine on antique rugs. Every violation of property rights, every act of arrogance, was meticulously documented. "Sir," one of his staff called softly, "should we confront them?" Marcus shook his head. "No. Let them dig their own hole." Meanwhile, Karen paraded through the mansion, directing her guests with theatrical flair. "Take photos. Show everyone we won." Her laughter rang through the high ceilings, but Marcus remained still, poised, the eye of the storm. One guest, a tall man with a camera, tripped on the edge of the fountain, almost falling in. "Is this legal?" he muttered, nervously glancing at Marcus's cameras. Karen waved him off. "Relax. This is HOA business. They can't do anything." But Marcus had anticipated every move. His lawyer had advised him on HOA trespass limits months ago, and every legal document, every prior complaint, and every photo of Karen's repeated violations had been filed and ready. He wasn't acting out of anger. He was acting with strategy. He finally stepped down from the balcony, moving calmly through the mansion, unseen by the intruders but recording silently, capturing every careless act on his own devices. Tripping guests, spilled drinks, ruined rugs, broken decor, each incident documented in real time. By the time Karen attempted to stage a toast in the main hall, Marcus had compiled an irrefutable record of their trespass, property damage, and reckless behavior. His calm authority contrasted sharply with Karen's chaotic arrogance, her aura of control crumbling in subtle ways. Neighbors began noticing the commotion, phones lifted to capture the spectacle. Karen's audacity was public, documented, and impossible to ignore. Marcus's quiet confidence made the growing tension almost palpable. The guests, once cocky, now hesitated, realizing something was off, and Marcus knew the final act was coming. With every camera, every note, every witness, he had already set the stage for the lawsuit that would turn Karen's audacity into a costly downfall. The HOA's grand invasion of his mansion was about to meet consequences far larger than champagne spills and social embarrassment. Karen clinked her glass, raising it high, oblivious to the storm brewing quietly behind her grand display. Marcus Darnell emerged from the shadows of the balcony, his presence calm, unhurried, yet utterly commanding. He didn't shout. He didn't wave. Every eye in the mansion gradually turned toward him, confusion flashing across faces that had moments ago celebrated triumph. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus began, voice steady and deliberate, "welcome to the evidence room." He pressed a button on his tablet, and large screens illuminated the main hall. Every camera feed, every time-stamped recording, every angle of Karen's invasion played on the walls. Guests froze mid-toast, their laughter dying in their throats as spilled champagne, trampled flowers, and ruined furniture were displayed in crystal clarity. Karen's face drained of color. This isn't real." Marcus held up a tablet showing the meticulous log of property damages and trespass violations. "Everything you've done has been documented. Every footstep, every reckless action, every violation of my property rights. HOA authority does not grant immunity from trespass laws." Gasps echoed through the hall. Guests murmured, some frantically checking their phones, realizing the public spectacle was now undeniable evidence against them. Karen's smug arrogance, the energy she had paraded for the past hour, began to crumble visibly. "You can't sue us," she cried, stepping forward. But Marcus's calm gaze cut her off. "Actually, I can and I will. Every guest, every board member complicit in this invasion, is liable for $100,000 each. That's the minimum for property damages, trespass, and punitive claims under state law." Her knees nearly buckled. You wouldn't dare." Marcus smiled faintly, turning to the stunned crowd. "I have legal counsel ready, filings submitted, and evidence compiled. HOA rules do not supersede property law, and your reckless invasion has created a clear case. You can laugh all you want, but the law doesn't bend to arrogance." At that moment, his lawyer entered, handing Karen a formal notice. The envelope trembled in her hands as she realized the lawsuit wasn't a threat. It was official, filed, and backed by unassailable proof. Guests whispered furiously, panic spreading like wildfire. Marcus's calm authority contrasted sharply with Karen's escalating chaos. She had expected submission, compliance, fear, but instead, she faced preparation, patience, and precision. Every act she had thought clever, every intrusion meant to assert dominance, now strengthened the case against her. Neighbors who had gathered outside watched the scene unfold. Phones lifted to record the moment Karen's power unraveled. The HOA's empire of intimidation, once projected through pomp and arrogance, collapsed under the weight of meticulous evidence and lawful authority. Karen tried to protest further, but Marcus's final words cut through the room like steel. "You invaded my home. You disrespected my property. You underestimated my patience. And now, justice will be served. Calmly, legally, and fully." Guests shuffled out, whispering apologies, some even snapping photos of the screens displaying their own misdeeds. Karen's smug confidence had evaporated completely. Marcus remained poised on the balcony, surveying the aftermath. The invasion had been spectacular, but his response was far more so. Calm, prepared, and precise, he had turned arrogance into audacity's ultimate downfall. The HOA had trespassed. Marcus Darnell had won. By afternoon, the mansion had quieted, the chaos replaced by a sense of restored order. Karen, once brimming with confidence, now sat humbly in her car outside the gates, clutching the official lawsuit notices. Her board members fidgeted, each aware that their complicity in the invasion had made them individually liable for $100,000. The once proud HOA parade had dissolved into stunned silence. Inside, Marcus Darnell walked through his mansion, surveying the aftermath. The floors had been cleaned, the gardens tended, and security staff ensured that no further intrusions would occur. Yet Marcus knew the real victory wasn't physical. It was legal, undeniable, and public. Every action Karen had taken was meticulously documented, and the lawsuits had been filed swiftly, ensuring maximum accountability. Neighbors and staff began approaching, offering congratulations and quiet admiration. "You handled that with such composure," one neighbor said. I've never seen someone dismantle arrogance so methodically. Marcus smiled faintly. Calmness, preparation, and lawfulness are stronger than bluster and entitlement. Today proved that. Even the remaining HOA members who had followed Karen reluctantly offered apologies. Marcus accepted them with quiet authority, knowing that humility was a lesson worth acknowledging. The spectacle had served its purpose. The HOA's reign of intimidation had been dismantled publicly, and the neighborhood understood that boundaries, respect, and law were non-negotiable. The legal filings were not just symbolic. They sent a powerful message. Karen and her guests faced real consequences for their reckless intrusion, reinforcing that private property, personal boundaries, and lawful conduct could not be ignored, even by those claiming HOA authority. Marcus stepped onto the balcony overlooking the lake, the sunlight shimmering across the water. Everything was as it should be. The mansion intact, the gardens restored, and the community reminded of respect and accountability. The HOA's arrogance had crumbled, replaced by caution and awareness. Karen's attempt at dominance had backfired spectacularly, her credibility in ruins. Marcus had maintained his dignity, leveraged the law, and turned chaos into a decisive, undeniable victory. By evening, peace had returned to the lakefront. The hum of water, the gentle sway of trees, and the quiet murmur of grateful neighbors replaced the raucous clamor of earlier events. Marcus knew the lawsuits would take time to process, but the principle had been established. Entitlement and recklessness would be met with calm authority, preparation, and justice. As night fell, the mansion glowed under soft lighting, a symbol of resilience and measured power. Marcus Darnell, poised and unshaken, understood that true authority does not shout. It observes, plans, and delivers justice with quiet precision. The HOA had invaded his home. He had turned the audacity into accountability, and in doing so restored balance, respect, and order to his life and neighborhood. Days after the incident, Marcus Darnell's lakefront mansion returned to a calm, serene state. The water shimmered under the sun, reflecting the peaceful blue sky, and the gardens bloomed once more, untrampled and vibrant. The chaos Karen had brought had faded, leaving a lesson in its wake. A reminder that arrogance, entitlement, and disregard for others have consequences. Neighbors, who had watched in awe as events unfolded, now approached Marcus with quiet admiration. "You didn't just defend your home, you taught everyone here a lesson," one neighbor said. "With calm, patience, and authority, you dismantled their chaos without ever raising your voice." Marcus smiled faintly. "It's about respect," he said. "Respect for property, for the law, and for each other. That's the foundation of a strong community." Even Karen's former supporters whispered apologies, acknowledging the magnitude of her misjudgment. Marcus accepted them with quiet dignity, letting the weight of justice speak for itself rather than humiliation. He understood that the ripple effect of patience and preparation could outlast any moment of anger or confrontation. Sarah Green, Marcus's wife and the invisible force during the 911 calls and prior incidents, joined him on the balcony overlooking the lake. She rested a hand on his shoulder, pride and affection in her gaze. "You handled everything perfectly," she said, calm, collected, and completely unshakable. Marcus nodded, taking a slow breath. "It's not just about winning," he said. "It's about showing that fairness and lawfulness triumph over recklessness and arrogance. This neighborhood, this home, our lives, they're protected because we respected the rules and prepared for this moment." The guests Karen had brought, now facing lawsuits, had left the neighborhood. The HOA's influence had been publicly dismantled. Residents could walk their streets, enjoy their homes, and relax by the lake without fear of arbitrary intrusion. Children played safely near the water, dogs ran freely across open lawns, and the soft murmur of conversation filled the air, a stark contrast to the chaos that had erupted just days before. Marcus paused, looking at the water as it lapped gently against the shore. He reflected on the events, the audacity of intrusion, the escalation of entitlement, and the decisive yet measured way justice had been applied. It wasn't anger that had guided him but preparation, patience, and calm authority. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting a golden glow over the lake, Marcus felt a profound sense of peace. Justice had been served. Respect had been reaffirmed. The neighborhood, stronger and wiser for the experience, had witnessed the power of measured action over reckless arrogance. He turned toward the mansion, the lights glowing softly through the windows. The gardens were restored, the property secure, and the sense of calm and order had returned fully. Marcus Green knew that today was more than a victory. It was a legacy of dignity, preparation, and authority that would be remembered long after the chaos had passed. The HOA had trespassed, and their audacity had been met with precision, patience, and justice. Marcus smiled, letting the evening breeze wash over him, knowing that peace, respect, and order had been fully restored.